Hi friends, now I will read a poem about our external appearance. Our appearance, our dress, all that matters. Sometimes very many people, not very many people, of course some people, they try to be very simple. They try to wear very simple dress. So it may be appreciated by some people, but most of the people they don't like. Unless you are very well dressed, unless you are properly dressed, well dressed need not mean very gaudily dressed. Again, if you are very gaudily dressed, it is rather outlandish and then it is laughed at. So one should not be highly gaudily dressed, but it should be proper. One should be properly dressed, appropriately dressed, neatly and decently dressed. So that is what we expect. So the poem here says about that only. I will read the poem and I will explain the poem. Then I will see whether there are any points of grammar. Then we will close reading the poem together. I will read it. Kim vasasa tatra vicharaniyam vasah pradhanam khalu yogyatayah Pitambaram vikshya dadau svakanyam Sharmambaram vikshya visham samudraha. Okay. So here the poet says, Kim vasasa tatra vicharaniyam. One should not think of what use is this dress. One should not think like that. Because vasah pradhanam khalu yogyatayah. For eligibility or for the respectability, don't you think that vasah pradhanam khalu, don't you think that these clothes are very important for some respectability? And then he gives an example. He gives an example by slightly taking liberty with the story of, say, the churning of ocean by gods and demons. So here, of course, there is a story which probably I might have told in an earlier poem. So the story I will repeat. There is a Purana. Purana means a mythological story, a myth. In fact, all societies, all cultures, they do have their mythologies. In this mythology, many of these stories are allegorical in nature, or rather, say metaphorical in nature. So that allegory or metaphor which is there in that, we have to understand. We should not take them as literal truths. So the story goes like this. There is one big ocean, that is Milk Ocean. The Milky Ocean, not the saltwater ocean, but the Milky Ocean. And then there are gods and demons. We know that gods and demons, they are always at loggerheads. But then somebody tells them, gods and demons, of course, they are enemies, but they are children of the same father, the same Prajapati. He has two wives. From one wife, all the people who are born are gods. Another wife, all the people who are born as demons. Okay. So there, somehow they come to know that by churning this milk ocean, we will get nectar. Nectar is amruta, what is called. And nectar, if one drinks, then the person becomes immortal. So they would like to do that. So, okay, gods themselves, they cannot do that because they don't have that strength to, say, churn that ocean. Similarly, the demons themselves, on their own, by their own strength, they are not able to do that. So they come to some sort of understanding. Okay, we will come together, we will cooperate, and then this is a sort of cooperative venture, we will churn the ocean. So then they manage to get various implements, a huge churning rod, and then all those things they try to get, and they get, and then they start churning. So one side, in fact, such a long rope was needed. There was such a long snake. So this snake was made the churning, rope. Instead of a churning rope, they used that snake as a rope. This is again metaphorical. Then the head of the snake was given to the Rakshasas. The tail of the snake was taken by the gods. So anyway, they started churning and churning and churning. So initially, many things come out. Several diamonds come out, and then several pearls and various other things come out. And some time later, some poison comes out. So poison comes out, and who has to take the poison? Who has to handle that poison? And one god who is capable of taking that poison is Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva takes that poison and then he swallows it, not inside into the body. He keeps it in his gullet, let us say, in his throat. So he just doesn't allow it to go in, he just keeps it here. So that is why his, because of that poison, his throat is said to be blue in nature, blue or dark in nature. So that is why he is called Neelakantha. Shiva is called Neelakantha, or black-throated person, because otherwise he is fair complexioned person. Only the throat is black. So he is called Neelakantha. So he manages to take care of that poison. Then they churn further, they continue churning. After some time at the end, then Lakshmi, not at the end of course nectar comes. And before that nectar, Lakshmi comes. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. And the goddess of wealth, not only she is the goddess of wealth, she is also so beautiful. Then she falls in love with the handsome man, that is Vishnu. Vishnu is a well-dressed, handsome god in our scheme of things, in our pantheon. Shiva is somebody who is wearing some, animal skin, some animal hide he wears. And then, whereas Vishnu is wearing all silken clothes, neat garlands, and then neatly decorated and whatnot. So this lady falls in love with Vishnu. So naturally, Vishnu marries this lady. So that story, it is just interpreted in such a way that Samudra means ocean. The ocean's first product is poison. That first product he has given to Shiva, who is not a well-dressed man. Shiva is a person who is ill-clad. Sometimes he is also Digambara, he is supposed to be naked. Sometimes he wears that animal skin. And then this poison was given, Samudra, in his wisdom, he has given this poison to Lord Shiva. And then he has given his daughter Lakshmi. Lakshmi is said to be the daughter of Samudra because she is born from Samudra. So he gives his daughter Lakshmi to Vishnu because he is so well dressed. So the poet, of course, is taking a liberty with that story, because otherwise it is an allegorical story. The churning of milk ocean is something which has to do with the human mind only. The human mind is supposed to be that milk ocean. Our own good thoughts and bad thoughts, they are supposed to be, they are the gods and they are the demons. And we keep on churning. Initially we get all such bad stuff and bad ideas, that is what is poison. And then ultimately you arrive at some good things, that is called the nectar or amruta. So anyway, there is a big allegorical interpretation for that. We will leave that. Now we will only come to how the poet has used it to explain a point. The poet here wants to explain a point that if you are ill-clad, you will not be respected. If you are well-clad, you will be respected. You attain respectability automatically, so long as you do not open your mouth. So that is again very important. If you are well-clad and if you keep open your mouth and then you betray your ignorance, then again, one will be a laughing stock. So a well-clad man, if he is dignified, if he is just maintaining his dignity, everybody will respect him. So that is what is the point to be made. So that is why the poem says, of course the poet, because we have a tradition, in fact in our own tradition, our tradition is to have jokes with our own gods and goddesses. We have so many poems, joking, some jocularly requesting gods. Suppose there is some, drought situation in a particular place. There is another shloka in which one poet says, "Oh Lord Shiva, you are a poor man. Why do you need two wives, Parvati and Ganga? Leave Ganga to us. Ganga is water. Leave Ganga to us. Keep Parvati with you." So like that, we have a tradition of joking with our gods and goddesses. So that is, of course, there is a sort of liberty. Then, of course, this artistic freedom should not go too far, because sometimes some artists, they portray gods and goddesses in nude, etc. That should not be done. That is in bad taste. So long as it is not in very bad taste, it is okay. Artistic freedom is okay. So here, there is a small, figure of speech also in this poem. The first line says, "Kim vasasa tatra vicharaniyam vasah khala pradhanam khalu yogyataya." It says, okay, one should not think, oh, what use is this dress? One should not think, because dress is something very important for attaining respectability. So the second line says, the ocean god gave his own daughter Lakshmi to see to the well-clad Vishnu, and he gave poison to the Shiva who was wearing an animal hide. So So, this sort of justifying one statement with another is a figure of speech. It is called Arthantaranyasa in Sanskrit. There is a figure of speech called Arthantaranyasa. It's a fairly long word, but anyway, you can just remember that it is a figure of speech, good figure of speech. So, we will read the poem again. Kim vasasa tatra vicharaniyam vasah pradhanam khalu yogyatayah. Before that, I will explain one or two points of grammar. Kim vasasa, vasaha, vasaha means clothes. Vasaha, vasasa, vasas, vasasa, vasasa means buy clothes. What is the use of clothes? So that is the Trutiya Vibhakti. Yogyatayah pradhanam khalu. So this khalu, is it not so? This word khalu is an indeclinable word which is used to indicate, oh, is it not so? Pradhanam khalu. When I say pradhanam khalu, is it not important? So that is what it is. Then Pitambaram Vikshya. Pitambaram is that silken cloth. Silken cloth. Ambaram is a cloth. Pita is that fine, say, colored cloth. Dadau Svakanyam. Charmambaram. Charma is animal hide. Charmambaram means animal hide used as some dress. So Ambaram Vikshya. Visham Samudraha. Visham is poison. Samudraha is the ocean. Here Samudra is personified as the ocean god. The ocean god gave poison to the ill-clad man and then gave his daughter Lakshmi to the well-clad man. So, Kim vasasa tatra vicharaniyam vasah pradhanam khalu yogyatayah Pitambaram vikshya dadau svakanyam Charmambaram vikshya visham samudraha. Okay, fine.